Hi, friends, and welcome to Strange Times Poetry Broadcast. I'm so glad that you could join me to read three uplifting poems. If you haven't watched this before, please like our Facebook page for more updates about Strange Times Poetry Broadcast, and please like and share if you have been here before. If you enjoy these readings, share them with those you love so that they too can find some solace and enjoyment in these uplifting poems. Today I'm going to be talking about cutting loose. One thing that I experienced at the very beginning of the shutdown of element of coronavirus was that my wife and I were both pretty sick. Doctor now thinks it was a combo of the flu and COVID. And usually with the flu, the minute you feel the symptoms, you go to the doctor, they test you, they give you some Tamiflu, and it really calms the symptoms down. But instead, because we had to wait so long to get tested, all of that, water under the bridge, we got to experience flu B, not the one that you can get vaccinated for, in a way that we like to joke was our Victorian flu. The way the flu was was meant to be experienced without any help from any medicine. And it made me think a lot about the sort of Victorian novels where female characters are not shown or able to be shown as thinking. And so often they get sick. They get the consumption, they get some other fever that lasts, and they're in the throes of the fever. And when they wake up, they've had a life changing epiphany. We don't really see the epiphany, but they've become a new person and they've set out on a new path. In a sense, they've cut loose from their past and are moving on to be a fully formed adult character, etc. And I was thinking about that with these three poems, the idea that this time can cause us to cut loose maybe from what we don't want to be and reorient us to something that's important. We have more time with ourselves to think in our homes with those we love. It's a huge change, and in all of those things, there is reflection, there's cutting loose from who we were in the past and becoming new people. And I think of all the difficult things of this time, the most exciting thing to me is the new people that we become because of this experience in a positive way. The first poem that I'm going to read is by Chase Twitchell, and it's from this book, which came out by Copper Canyon a little while ago, called Horses Where the Answers Should Have Been. And this poem is called Tenderfoot. It's one of those poems that takes you to a beautiful place. So those poems have really comforted me during this time. Tenderfoot. I ride the chute and swim out into the dark panes of cold, then climb the glacial stairs to lie on hot granite, the same slabs on which my young father screwed his girlfriends 60-something years ago. The locals call it Tenderfoot, one of the deep pools miles upstream. You rarely see a stranger there. The lure and the dare is a steep sluice of water through bedrock, 30 feet in too late to stop mind, then a shock of froth that flips you backward once or twice before it lets you go. There's a rare blue iridescence in the rocks, labradorite, which goes gray when dry, but underwater is a trove of jewels. How easily mind swims into silence, a faraway floor of stones wavering in sun, clouds of bubbles spilled by falls, no sign of human life, no words. I think one of the magical things about this poem is a poem which deals so much with words. This poem takes you to a place where there are no words, which is impressive. I love the idea of the labradorite, which is gray above the water, but in this place under the water, it's this blue jewel. And I think it's so interesting the way that Twitchell brings in this anecdote about a father that's kind of vulgar. What is it doing in the poem? Is it grounding us? Is it sort of pulling us back into reality from the intensity of the beauty and the silence of the other places? Is it connection to the body that comes through at the end when there are no words. Is it ancestry? I don't know. I'm curious. What do you think? That was my big question about this poem. What is that doing there? It's gross. Or it's the beauty of life. I don't know. It depends on your perspective. All right. This next poem is called Root. It's by Lisa Olstein, who's written many a book. She was my poetry teacher at the Tent workshop at the Yiddish Book Center, which was an amazing experience for Jewish writers or writers write about Jewish things. I would recommend it to everyone who has the chance, if it's running this year, to go. And this is one of her poems that she wrote in 2018. Root. God made her his vessel. No. God made of her a vessel. No. The river poured into her as if a vessel. Yes. God made of her a raft. No. Her child clung to her as if a raft. No. Clung to her as a raft. Yes. God made of her a vassal. Yes. Landless, river pastured, root cut loose. I love the twisting and turning of this. I almost feel like in this poem, the water from the previous poem and the tumbling coming in, but with the language. And I love this idea. God made of her a raft. No. Her child clung to her as if a raft. No. Clung to her as a raft. Yes. That question of simile, metaphor, the who is doing it, and how the poem twists and turns that. And there's also this mysterious contrast between being God's vessel or the river's vessel and the child's raft, and yet also a vassal, landless, river pastured, root cut loose. This poem is just working with and against itself, and I love being taken through each of the phases of it, each of the turns. My last poem about being cut loose is another segment from Suspended Belief, the poem that's based on this line of liturgy, please God with the strength of your right hand untie the knot. In this poem, the idea of letting go is opening, seeing. I think it connects back to that feeling of the Victorian flu, where when you let go, you see the underside of things and you come out a changed person for the better. Suspended Belief. Please God with the strength of your right hand untie the knot. The thread of leaf-cutter ants bound to one tree, seemingly like all others, but they've chosen to climb its ragged skin and eat. The copper river, the water beetles racing, the plastic oars pen our novice trail on water. The storm returning, grasp neck, grasp temples in invisible steel hands, the lightning's jagged hook. The fire from dung or wood or electric coil, the blue gas from compressed paste of lizard bone and plants footprinted in rock. Slip not unslipped, I want to see the underside of the cloth before you tug like the oldest grandmother at the thickest of Afghans, and it turns into a tangled yard of light spilling from your lap. I love how this poem imagines the creator destroying or unwinding everything, like pulling out the crocheting by pulling the string that will unknot everything, all the slip knots. And how there's all these dramatic moments of nature that fall away, and that's what then you see the underside. It was a pleasure reading with you tonight. I hope that you stay safe and stay sane. I'll see you soon. Bye!